Remember that when we're recording, your face won't be visible, but your voice might be, okay? I only share this link with the class, so again, don't worry about your voice being there because no one will be able to identify you in the future if they're not in the class. So um, we are at this space now. So we've started doing the sidewall cracks and we started building a building on the left. So we're gonna pick up from the building on the left and going to start to look at that together and build into that. So the first thing that we want to do is just to,
Professor?
yeah. Hello.
Oh, sorry, my headphones were connecting. I wasn't here for the last portion of class on Tuesday, and I didn't get this far with the drawing. What do you suggest I do?
All right. Well, can you take a screenshot of my screen and dump it into your sketchbook?
Oh, okay, I can try that.
Okay, just make sure when you do that, you dump it in so it's locked in place.
Okay, I'll try that. Thanks.
Okay. And what you can see that we were doing was just like dividing space and creating marks where we wanted things to land up. And so that's what we're going to continue to build with today. Okay, so I'm going to turn the perspective grid on. Okay, and the first thing that I want to do with you is like, just so we don't forget, like I'm going to go ahead and mark the horizon line back here, so that we know where the horizon line is going to be. Okay. And so I'm just going to kind of like take that layer and dump it down on the bottom so I don't accidentally draw on it. It'll be easier to erase the horizon line where we don't need it later if we have it on another layer. So now I've made a new layer and we're going to first put a window on the building on the side. So turn on your perspective grid. We want it to be in the center of the side that is closest to the vanishing point. So we're going to draw a straight line up, okay? And then we can see that we're going to run into that issue where we won't be able to find the exact corner of that space because part of that corner is off of the page. And so what we need to do is we need to bring in a lower orthogonal, because if we find the center of a space that's here, so even though we're not going to use this space, if we just basically find the center of this space, as long as it's on the same plane, the center will be the same in the upper space where we're going to put the window. So we're going to place our little shape in there. It doesn't matter how big it is, y'all. It doesn't matter where it is. And then I'm going to pull corner to corner like that and find the center of that space.
Hi, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I can't seem to make any marks on the page and I'm not really sure how to fix it.
Sometimes that's because accidentally you've locked the layer. Do you see the little lock on the layer?
Yes.
Is that turned off?
Yes.
Did that help?
No, I still can't make any marks.
Okay, this sounds really silly. Are you using a pen tool?
Oh, like the tool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then do you have your perspective grid turned off, or is it on?
I had it turned on and then I turned it off.
And it still won't let you?
And it's like not making any marks.
Okay, hold on, let's pause this. So I found the center of the space below, so then if I just draw a line straight up through there, I've now found the center of the space above it because they line up perfectly because they're they're constructed together. Okay. So go ahead, this will be just a little bit of a maneuver here, but we can see that we can find that corner to corner So then we can actually also find, if we take a line through here, you see, now it will kind of give us a good idea of where the center is, but it just won't stop in the right place. But with that middle line now is way more accurate than if we had tried to guess. Okay, and so then let's just change colors. And let's find the center of this space. Okay. And so then that just becomes a vertical line. And then over here again, because we don't have that top corner, and on the bottom there, I'm going to find the center of that space. And then just drag up through there. And again, even though I don't have that corner, I now can see where the center of that space is going to be. Okay. So then what we're going to do is now we're going to create our orthogonals for like basically just making a window up there that is like about a quarter of the distance from the top, the door frame, and the sides. So we can see that we have, we're going to take this intersection here and just pull out from that. So I'm just looking at this intersection there. I'm afraid I'm going to have to, nope, that's fine, that will work fine. So then right here will be the same intersection on the bottom. See it here. Then we can see that intersect here and here. So on a new layer, I'm just going to pick up the color that I was using here for the building. And then I'm just going to draw this in. Whoopsie. Now I've got my window, making sure all the corners are closed. Okay. Then let's find the thickness of the window. We're just going to guess like we did for the thickness of the door based on our perception of what we think a window should be. So I'm going to think about the thickness of the window in conjunction to the thickness of the door and say, well, do I want it to be the same or do I want it to be different? And so we can say that we want it to be the same. And so what we're going to do is just kind of have a look at this distance here. And then we're going to gauge it here. And I actually want you to do it that way because I want you to develop your visual perception skills. And then where that corner is, it'd be a horizontal line. And I can clean it up. Okay. So our really important thing to remember, other than just horizontal is horizontal, vertical is vertical, orthogonal is orthogonal, is that we will see different planes based on the relationship of those planes to the horizon line. So here we're looking up, so we're going to see the top of the inside of the window. Okay, then I'm actually just going to build a new layer. And so like over there, we're going to, on the door, we're going to grab our straight line tool, I'm going to change colors. And what we need to do is figure out the entire sort of middle of this space. If we go like this, and we go like this, for the door frame, and then we just draw a line back like that, then we can see where the center of the door would be on the back. And you can test that by pulling this line here, and here, and then this line here, and that line there, and then you could see the structure of the door behind it. You can even then also take your draw tool and find the center by going through it like that, and look, now they are. Now we can see the center of the back of the door, even though we can't see the whole door. Okay, so now that we've got the back, the center of the back of the door, horizontally, we can then pull in the vertical. Okay. So we've also got like an X, right, which is kind of cool. So if you're kind of confused, you can take a new layer, change your color, and just draw like the visible X here and here. And there, and then you can turn that off.
How did you get to the X where it's not directly in the visual center, but it's like perspectively in the center?
I built the back.
Do you know what I mean?
Does that help? So I found the visual center of the front door frame. And then I basically followed the orthogonals in the back here. And then we can see that they line up with these ones in the front. And so then if we just draw a horizontal line over, then we can see where that back frame would be. And the way that you figure that out really is just like, because if you draw this horizontal line over and you follow this orthogonal here, they're going to intersect there. Okay. So we don't need that. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is basically just make the door a bit more like a door. And to do that, we're just going to put basically a doorknob in it. It's probably going to be the wrong side because I think the doorknob is usually more like on the left side, but we're just going to pretend it's more on the right side. So you can turn this back on if you want. I find that a bit confusing. So again, I'm just gonna make a new layer. They're free. They're easy to make. I'm just gonna do that. Okay. So first, I'm just gonna find the center of the top of the doorway. Okay. And so now I have my halfway mark. I think that the doorknob needs to be above halfway, but not dramatically so. So now that I have my halfway mark, I can say, okay, well, let's just pull it into a division of space until I find something that I feel feels comfortable. So I actually could use that back there. Let's turn that on. So then we're gonna go here to here, here to here. So that's that center. And then I'm going to basically just find this center here. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take away the opacity because it's confusing. And I'm gonna make a new layer. And then right in this little area in here, I'm gonna find the center of that little layer, that little space. And here's the visual center. There's the horizontal center. So you're going to do a digital 1 point for homework. And when you do that, you're going to keep all these layers because this is what I want to see. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a new layer. Take this opacity down so it's not so striking. And then I'm going to turn off my tool. And then let me see if I can do it this way. No, you can't. You can't do it that way. So there's that little tiny space we're working in. Just find the center of that little tiny space. New layer, opacity down. Okay. Then I want you to make a little square inside that space. Just like that. We're not going to divide the space again and again, because if we look, it's a really small detail. Oops, but you know what? I'm silly. Because I still need to follow the rules. So I'm going to turn my perspective back on. Make sure it really is in perspective. Now in that space then, I just made a new layer. They're free and easy to use. In that space, we're going to draw in our handle shape. I didn't like that, so I'm try again. I'm going to shrink down the size of my pen. There we go, that's better. And what you want to remember is that they're going to come to a flat point. They're not going to be pointed, they're going to come to flats. Like that. So then the final shape looks like this. Remembering that it's going to come to a flat, not a point where it intersects with the square. Okay. So we can't just have it as a circle though, because everything else we've been building is dimensional. So I'm going to shrink that down. I'm going to make a new layer. Then I'm going to go to the color I'm using for my final. And basically what I need to do is figure out where its dimensionality is. So let me put in the circle. And then what I need to do is just in front of it, basically build another circle. And you can see that they don't quite line up, right? Like one is a little bit inside of the other. All that work for that little tiny detail. So basically it should look like this, you know, depending. So like, that's what it would look like from the side. We're a bit more angular, so it's going to look a bit more like this. But we want that side there because it talks about the dimensionality. So you could even actually, to help yourself if you want, you could even go in there and color it in. So much work. But now we know it's in the right place. We didn't guess that it's in the right place. We know it's in the right place. And it should be pretty flat on the top, y'all, and pretty flat on the bottom. We're going to use the first building to help us find the second building. Okay, so we're going to basically just pull a horizontal line right across the street like that. Okay, oh, make sure you're on a new layer. And then where it intersects with the sidewalk on the right, just pull right up. Okay, so it's basically in the center of that first one. We're going to skip the second one. And then the third one, we're going to go corner to corner. And find the center of the third one, the third sidewalk panel section. So from that point, we're just going to go up like that.
Real quick, did you want to be recording this?
It is recording. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much. And then we're going to take from this point here. No, that's a bit too high. Let's go down to the blue orthogonal there, about that height. And we're going to do that as the top.
Wait, how did you make that last line all the way at the end?
I'm just like looking, so like on my, we could do this. Let's do this in case you have different orthogonal setups. Let's just take the top of the building on the left and just draw a horizontal line over. Let's just do that.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then we're going to take from that intersection down to the vanishing point. I'm using my finger right now because my Apple Pencil is dead. So there we go. And let's go ahead on the bottom there. Let's go ahead and just draw that horizontal line all the way through. We're eventually going to make a little alleyway. We can actually do that now. We'll just pull straight all the way over to the right, like that. And then pick up this red line and draw it all the way along the side. And then the thickness of the sidewalk all the way that way. And then we can go back to our layer with the road on it and erase that part. Like that. And then we can go back to our new layer. And there we can do, just fix that little bit if you erase it all, like I did. It's really hard with your finger, huh?
It's super doing it with your finger. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah. Well, I've done, like I'm not upset that I'm struggling right now. I want to know how hard it is, that's for sure. Okay. That's good enough. Okay. So then here you're going to do your straight line there. So now we've got the side of the building and a little alleyway started. Okay, so then let's go ahead and let's just find the center of the side of that building that's facing us. Well, I guess we won't be able to do that. Let's do this. Go ahead and let's just find like, let's use the sidewalk there that we made here, the sidewalk here. Let's use that. And let's look at this length here. So we're going to put in the next section, and it needs to be a little bit less than the first section because of the perspective. So when you isolate that, then you can do your vertical line and then your orthogonal. Then the next section should be smaller than the second one that you did. So when you get a distance that you think is correct, go ahead and do your vertical line and then your orthogonal. And then you'd actually probably get one more in here about here. All you need to do is make sure that they're getting smaller as they get further away. So then where that second one is, draw a straight line up. And then find the center of that space. And then find the horizontal center. Then find the center of the top section. Horizontal center, vertical center.
I'm still confused on how to find the sidewalk spacing.
Sure. So what I did there was, you know, again, like kind of building our sense of perception. How wide is this? This one should be pretty similar, but just slightly smaller.
Right.
This one should be similar, but slightly smaller than this one. And then that final one that we can't see, again, I just kind of like perceived that space. Okay, so then we're just sort of playing here. So I'm going to keep playing with my draw tool. I'm going to go here and there. There and there. And then here I'll get a horizontal line. Here I'll get a horizontal line. Okay, and then I'm going to go here and here. Vertical line. Here and here. Vertical line. So now we can see we built a little tiny window. It's so pretty. So I'm just going to make a new layer there. Let's make a new color. And I'm going to make my window here. Okay. So, I'm making you do all these sectional things again and again because I really want you to figure out how that feels. So I can just, while you're waiting, I'm just going, or while you're still working, I'm just going to go through and just draw my new building on this layer with the window.
I think that mine is not lining up with yours, but I'm not sure if it's just,
In sense of what?
like I think that this alleyway wall is narrower in mine than in yours.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as you're still dividing the space and you're getting something that looks similar, I'm okay.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so here we are. So now let's just go ahead. What we're going to do is we're just going to continue to work on building that building on the right. Okay, and we are going to, I'm just going to clean it up because it's bothering me a little bit. We're going to do our famous let's find the center action. Okay, of course that should be connected there. Now I've messed it up. I'm going to leave it. I'm just being silly. Okay, I'll fix that in a minute. So we're going to just grab our draw style tool. We're going to do a corner to corner. I would just do a new layer so you're not building something on your layer you want to keep. Okay. And then up and down. Okay. Let's put the doorway on the far left part. Okay, and we're going to go corner to corner. And then we're going to go vertical. Okay, and then we're going to go through the center. Okay, and then we're going to say, okay, is that space in there? Does that feel like that's going to be a good height for a door based on the perception of the perspective? I would say yes. Okay. So let's just build our doorway in there. Okay, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to lower the opacity down so don't get confused. Okay, and make a new layer. And we're just going to do what we've been doing all along, right? We're going to find the center of this space here and here. Okay, that's going to give us our vertical here and here. And then we're going to go ahead and find our horizontal center. This should be something you feel pretty comfortable with now. Corner to corner here. Okay. Orthogonal. And I'm just changing colors again and again so it's easier for us to follow. Corner to corner here. Horizontal. So that's gonna, we can say, all right, well, that's kind of like the top of the door maybe. I don't think the door should be that whole space. I think we should go a little bit lower. And then now all we need to do, gonna make a new layer, is we're gonna go over this line here. And this line here. And then this line there. So we just have that.
Can you go back a few steps?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So I found the center of the building. Center of the building, vertical center of the building. So made two halves. Then I found the center of the first half. Vertical center of the first half. Horizontal center of the whole building. That gave me that sort of lower half space. So I then found the center over there of each of those quarters. Vertical centers of each quarter. Horizontal section. Then I went off to find my measurement in the top. Center of the space, horizontal section. Then I found the center of the top quarter, horizontal. I don't know why that disappeared, but after finding, maybe I have to have this on. It's on.
My sketchbook won't let me like click anything. I think it's just like glitching, but my cursor is like stuck in a fist and it like
Oh,
won't.
no.
Yeah, I don't know if I like clicked on something that like locked it, but I can't click on anything or like do anything.
Are you on the desktop?
No.
You're on the tablet?
No, I'm on a desktop. Yeah.
Okay. Can you do like on a Mac? I would have a keyboard option, which would be Command S to save it. It sounds like if we just close it and reopen it, it's going to smash everything into one layer.
Well, I did close it and reopen it, and it didn't do that. It's just like it's like frozen. I can move my mouse, but it's like stuck in a fist. But I closed it and I reopened it, and it just kept doing this.
I don't know.
I don't either.
Sounds like maybe like a. All right, so now we've got that, right? So then we're just going to do what we've done in the other places. We're going to assign a thickness to the door frame. So for that, just give us a thickness that you think looks appropriate. Then do a horizontal line there. Excuse me. And then our orthogonal on the inside. So you can see, of course, as things get smaller, they get harder to kind of like, get everything done with. But they still matter.
Because I need help with something.
Sure.
Let me see if I can show you my tablet. Let me see
Hold
my
on.
screen.
So once you've moved up the horizon line, go ahead and erase it inside the buildings. That's why it's good to have it on its own layer, you see?
Where are we putting the horizon line?
Just where it should just be right. We just want to make sure it's visible. So even if you have to draw a new one, doesn't matter.
Okay.
But we can see that it's right here, right? It's from here to here.
Yeah, I meant like more with order of layers.
I'll just make sure it's above your. All I was saying was that if it's below, it disappears, you see?
Oh, okay.
So I'm just making sure that it's above.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So just make a new layer, turn on your perspective guide. Okay. And then we're going to do our lines down the middle of the road. So look at the lines running down the center, that center vertical axis. And then just decide based on the width of your road how wide your line might be. I'm going to put it here. Maybe it should be just a bit thicker here. If I make it too thick though, it's just going to be a gigantic line in the middle of the road. Then turn on your symmetry tool. It's the one that looks like two parentheses. Make sure you have the vertical symmetry, which is the one that's right there on the left. That would be horizontal. We don't want that. We just want vertical. And then make sure that this axis is in the middle of the page, right through the center. So it lines up with where the center of the space is. And then just retrace that line and it will draw automatically on the other side symmetrically. But watch out, because if you put this over here, it will draw over there, you see? So you want to make sure that this lines up right through that center, that vanishing point. Okay. Then you can turn it off again. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're gonna, again, we said before that we can make something, oh, bloody hell, sorry. Keep hitting the wrong button, sorry. That's the problem with using your own material, sorry. So we're gonna use, why is the add photo button so close? So then turn on the perspective guide. And again, we're gonna make the illusion of space seem stronger by making sure that that first line falls off the page. Now I want you to use your perception of space. How far apart would the line be? I want you to think about it, right? Like if it's here, that seems like it's going to be too close for a broken line down the middle of the road. What about here? How's that look? Okay, that looks better. Maybe just a hair longer. Okay, that looks good there. So I can go ahead and I'm gonna basically just do my orthogonal all the way down now, all the way down. Now I need to figure out like, where am I going to put the next end of the next line? Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our guide and we're gonna say, what is that angle? Whoop. So the way we're going to do that, I always have to have a moment here. Draw a horizontal line over and then measure the angle from there to there. It's about 21 degrees. Okay. So we can draw a line there. Okay. And so then let's see what happens if we take this and we go here. Let's do 21 degrees. And that gives us this. Okay. Might be a little long, but I think it looks pretty good. So we do 21 degrees. Let me give us our next break. I just looked at the clock like, oh, break. I forgot we needed the break at some point today. And then 21 degrees. Pardon me, we want this line here. All the way to the back. Okay. Now I can just make a new layer and just trace the bits that I want. Maybe change color so it's easier for me to see. And of course, you don't have to trace the parts that are in between the lines. Just the lines themselves.
Would you mind showing your guiding lines again?
Sure.
Thank you.
Those ones? Or the
Uh,
perspective lines?
Just the lines for the road, just where you angled your ruler so we could see where to put them. Thank you.
Yep, so it was negative 21 degrees to the left, 21 degrees to the right. And then don't forget that first one, I just basically kind of felt a distance that I thought worked. Toolbar moving. Ellie, does that help?
Can you show that again? I don't know if I quite got.
So I just hit this little white square on the far right. And then my screen looks like this. And then I have this slider here where like I can like then like change stuff. I guess it's a two-handed thing, brush. Yeah, you'd use your left hand to slide this up and down, layer, color, brush, you see?
Yeah, the problem is like the bar at the top where you can get all the different like
Tools.
symmetry or the perspective or the ruler or paint bucket. If I'll try to show on my
It's
thing.
just in the way, right?
Yeah, anytime I try to touch, just the volume thing appears and I can only move that. Anytime I try to like touch, say, the paint bucket, just because of where it's placed on the screen, there's a volume adjuster that appears for like if I were to play music or something, that kind of volume. And it just lets me adjust that and I can't click on anything else, really.
I think you'll have to go into your settings for the iPad and turn that off. Like it sounds like you're activating some type of dock. I don't know. I'm sorry. That's the best I can kind of come up with. Because you can't, like, you mean like it kind of does like this type of thing.
Something different but similar kind of idea.
Okay. Let's take a 10-minute break and come back, and we're going to do the last like challenging thing, and then we'll talk about your homework. Okay. Gabriella, what's up?
I'm just so far behind, and I don't know, things are not lining up, and it's just such a mess.
Well, I noticed you were using your guide a lot. Why aren't you using the? Are you using the perspective guide?
I was too, yeah. I was using the ruler just to make the divisions.
Okay.
It just looks messy, and I don't like it, and I feel like I'm too behind.
It's okay. If it's messy, that's no problem. You can always go back and clean it up later. Okay. But also, I'm just worried about you. Just like, is everything making sense?
Well, I get the idea. It's just that like in this drawing.
So we can do the telephone poles. We don't want them right against the sidewalk, but we do want them to be close to the sidewalk. So like we're gonna think about the height of the sidewalk here. And I just made a new layer. And I'm just gonna basically like kind of double that. I don't know why, just because it seems like a good one. Seems like a good distance. Then I'm going to turn on the perspective guide. And I'm just going to do my first orthogonal. Okay. And now I'm going to take basically half of that space and put it over here. So it's just basically half of that space, and then I'm going to do my orthogonal back there. So 2 orthogonals for the base. Bruce. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to draw a vertical line up, vertical line up. Now we're going to basically start with this thing as being like a square. So we're going to go down this line here about the height of, about the height of the sidewalk here. We want it to be kind of a square. Again, it's okay to use your perception. Now, I don't think the telephone poles would be, let's make them like a little bit taller than the building. So if we extend this up a little higher, extend this up a little higher, then we can do our orthogonal. And extend that up, bring that over. We just want it to be a bit taller than the building. Typically, I would say you could draw the back leg, back corner too, but we don't need it, so I'm not going to add it. So if I just make a new layer and I just draw the lines that I need, I'm going to end up with this. Like that. Okay. So it's a little rectangular, but that's okay. Now we're going to think about where do we want the next one to go. And what I'm going to do that is I'm going to think about where the outside corner is here. I'm going to take my guide, and I'm just going to turn my guide till I can get to a place where I feel like it would be a good distance. So if I go in here, I can say, right now it's like 79 degrees. If I do 80 degrees, I don't know, that looks like a pretty good distance for the next one. So then I can go back to this layer here, change my color, put in where I think this is going to go. I'm going to drag it because it's from the face. I'm going to drag it to the orthogonal that decides the face, not the back. See? I'm going to do a horizontal line over, and then vertical line up. Whoopsie, sorry. Okay, vertical line up, vertical line up. Pardon me, this line. It's going to be important for us to do this now. We need to do this now. We're going to take our orthogonal from the back corner here and pull it through. And then we can put our horizontal line there, and that tells us where that belongs. And look, I drew on my final layer. That wasn't a good idea. And for the face, it's just going to be smaller than the first face. I could also have done it so that this angle here would line up with that point, and we would make a new angle here and it would make the right length, but we didn't do it that way just because I'm trying to show you the easiest way to do this. And again, I want you to practice that perception of space. So how long is this one? This one should be smaller. And then if we make sure our canvas is at 90 degrees and we take our guide, it should still be at the right angle. And we can just slide it over and do our next one. We get a horizontal line. Vertical line. Oh, blimey. Vertical line. Vertical line. Horizontal line. Then the face needs to be smaller than the last face. Now we have 3 poles. So I'm just going to copy those rectangles. Make a new layer, copy the rectangles. Staring go through and sort of focus first just on my verticals. I'm not going to do my horizontals yet. So remember on the doorknob, we talked about like when you draw a circle, if you draw a square and then you put a circle in it, it's never going to come to a point. It's always going to have flat parts here, 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 and here. Well, what's cool is that in perspective, those flat parts can then become guides so that you can determine like how things might line up to make like other circles so that they all line up. Okay. So what's cool is that like once you understand that they're not going to come to a point, they're always going to come to flat parts in the square, that helps you think about how circles can line up in space. So what we're going to do is here, okay, we're going to create our rectangular shapes into curved shapes at the top. And then at the bottom. Top, bottom. Now the ovals that are above the horizon line are going to curve upwards, and the ovals below the horizon line are going to curve downwards. And then it's just a matter of kind of like blending them until you can get them to look the way you think they should look. I'm going to go into my horizon line, and I'm just going to erase the horizon line inside the poles because we won't see that. And the final step would just be the telephone wires, which we're just going to make nice and simple. We turn on our orthogonals. We can just basically decide where at the top they should be connected. And we're just going to draw straight down. Like so. Let's make sure you're on the right layer. I'm just going to take this line. So the one on the front will just run through everything. Then you're going to go a horizontal line, horizontal line. And so then the one on the back, we're going to do on another layer. And then we just need the line that's visible behind the poles. So then the final step for the drawing is to find all your layers that you want to keep and put them all together and merge them. Don't get rid of the other layers though. And then you can start to play around with you know, the color of your buildings. Then just use the fill tool. And if you fill in a space and it fills in, that means like if I fill in this line and it fills in, either I don't have the layer there, which I should do. I don't. And if you, when you go into fill in a space, if it fills in the whole canvas, then that means that you don't have, you see, you don't have lines that are connecting. So you want to make sure all your lines are connecting.
That's what I'm having the hardest time with. This pen is terrible.
Okay.
I cannot get it close to the edge if I try. I mean, I am trying. And I could feel, it would fill, the paint bucket would fill the whole page. There's not one thing on here that it would work on.
Oh.
I know, it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
What if so I find that like, you know, like when I'm using the perspective grid and I want to make lines that line up, often I have to zoom in. And if I can't, like if they just won't intersect, I just turn off the perspective grid and freehand a little intersection.
Okay.
So don't feel bad about doing that. Because your final step for your homework is kind of like, have fun, like fill it in, see what it looks like. So if that's going to cause you like great trauma,
Yeah.
I'd rather you just go in and freehand all your little intersections so that you can still fill in.
It's
But,
just so
like-
weird. I don't know. Does everybody's have that? It has like a little plastic circle at the end of at the tip.
I've seen those in the past. I don't really know what that's for.
It's
I've
terrible.
never seen that before.
It's awful. And so I can't even if I mean, I've been trying, and usually I have steady hands. Usually I can get pretty precise, and it just like I
Can
have
you
to
get it
hit like a
off?
1/4 of an inch to the right in order to get it to the left, and it's driving me crazy. It's the hardest part of this whole thing. I understand the
Good.
concept, but I can't get the lines to line up. I'm just saying, you're lucky. I'm envious of your being able to use the paint bucket.
Well, when you go to do the layer where you get to color everything in, you can always, for your homework, you can always use like the marker and just color in with the marker, okay?
Okay.
But you can see like right here, I have like an intersection that's not quite working. So there I can just fill that in by hand. You see? With my technical pen.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry.
No, it's not. It's just, I'm just voicing my frustration.
Totally, voice away. Voice away. I know, this is, I think this is 80% easier and 20% harder than paper and pencil. Sometimes in my evaluations for this class online, it's like, I wish we did, less digital drawing, and some students like, I wish we did more digital drawing. So I try to find a balance between using the digital tools and then using the traditional tools. And I hope that I strike a pretty good balance with that, but I still use digital tools in the classroom for perspective now because it's just more, it just works better with our contemporary technologies.
I'm really enjoying it. I just am frustrated by my pen. I really think it's neat what what the computer can do.
Yeah.
It does make it a little, like you said, whatever, 80% easier or whatever, but this darn pen, I guess I chose the wrong one.
Yeah. I've had great luck with just like those like $2 styluses you can get in like the cup by the register at like Office Depot.
Yeah, I can go get one of those.
Until you use it, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like when I first started doing everything digitally like this in the classrooms, we had Surface tablets and I just could not get them to function well. And one of my students, her husband had worked on the Surface project and I just would not leave her alone. I'd be like, could you just tell your husband how frustrating this is for our students? He actually worked on the screen. And so that was where all our problems were. So I was always like, could you just please, what did your husband decide to do with the screen? Why is it doing this? And she'd be like, I don't know. He's not on the project anymore. But I do think that in many ways it makes things easier. So for your homework, you're going to do a digital 1-point perspective. you're going to upload your work from today to the discussion board because your homework should not look like your work from class.
So are we making another drawing, or you just want us to change the colors?
You're making another drawing.
Yeah.
That's going to be yours. Okay. And you're going to do, your document's going to have 3 layers to it. It's going to be, you're going to show me one image where you have multiple layers with all the division lines visible. You're going to show me one image where it's just all the contours of your final shapes and one image where you fill it in. Okay. And the one that I'm the least worried about is the filled in one. Okay. So